Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Matthew and Dominique Leili? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Matthew and Dominique Leili met online in 1996 and became romantically involved. They had both been born in 1967. Matthew went by the name Matt, and Dominique went by the name Nique. Matt had been married and divorced. Nique had been married and divorced twice. She had a daughter named Alex from a prior marriage. Early in the relationship between Matt and Nique, they moved to Oklahoma for Nique's job. She worked a lot of hours and was the breadwinner for the family. Matt did not have a job. He stayed at home and looked after Alex. Matt and Nique married on February 14, 1998. This same year, they moved to Mississippi so that Nique could take a different job. This position was in corporate finance. In September of 1998, the couple had a daughter named Amanda. Matt and Nique argued frequently. Matt suspected that Nique was having an affair. Over time, he became increasingly jealous and controlling. In 1999, the family moved to Lawrenceville, Georgia, because Nique was transferred with her current employer to a location in Atlanta. In 2001, the couple had a daughter named Rebecca. In Georgia, Nique was still the breadwinner, but Matt did work when they lived there. He ran a small computer business out of the family house. He would purchase old computer equipment, repair it, and sell it. After some bicycles were stolen from outside the house, Matt installed a security camera. For some reason, he continued installing cameras. Eventually, he had 20 cameras outside the house and 1 camera inside the house. He had created an ultra-boring version of The Truman Show. During this time, Matt and Nique started arguing frequently. The verbal altercations became so intense and disruptive, Nique's daughter, Alex, moved out at the age of 16. The couple went to counseling, and the relationship appeared to improve for a while, but they soon returned to their old habits. Their arguments were loud, explosive, and frequent. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. In late June 2011, Nique told friends that she was leaving Matt, but was frightened because he had threatened her in the past. On June 28, Nique called 911 and said that her husband would not let her leave the house. When the police arrived, they offered to help Nique leave, but she refused this offer. Later, she left on her own and went to work. Nique only returned home after Matt had their daughter Amanda call her. On Friday, July 8, 2011, Matt and Nique went out to dinner and a movie as part of an effort to repair their relationship. As usual, they ended up having a verbal altercation. The couple returned home during the early morning hours of Saturday, July 9. 2 days later, on Monday, July 11, 2011, Matt Leili reported his wife Nique Leili missing. He had not seen her since July 9. Here is the story that Matt Leili supplied to the authorities. Late on July 8 and early on July 9, he and Nique argued because he wanted sex and Nique did not. Sometime around 2 or 3 a.m., Matt went to a first-floor bedroom to sleep as Nique remained upstairs. At about 6 a.m., Matt woke up to use the bathroom and realized that his wife was no longer in the bedroom. Her purse, cell phone, and vehicle were still there. It was at this point that Matt realized the security cameras had been disabled. He said that Nique did this when she left the house angry in order to aggravate him. Matt left the house and looked for Nique for over an hour, but was not successful. Later, he contacted one of his wife's coworkers and asked if Nique was with her. The coworker did not have a close relationship with Nique, therefore she was surprised that Matt called her. As the police continued to investigate, a search effort was initiated. Matt did not help with the search. On Wednesday, July 13, Matt filed for divorce. 2 days later, he supplied the police with Nique's cell phones. She had 2 of them. One was severely damaged and could not be analyzed. On the next day, Saturday, July 16, Nique's body was found in a wooded area at the front of the neighborhood where she lived. This was less than a mile from her house. She was face down under a mound of dirt and leaves and not wearing any clothing. Due to decomposition, the medical examiner was unable to determine how she died. She had no obvious injuries. Nique had the drug GHB in her system. Semen matching Matt was found in her body. This proved that she had sex with him within a few days before her murder. Her death was classified as highly suspicious of homicidal violence. A few hours after the discovery of Nique's body, the police searched the Leili family house. They seized electronic devices including computers and hard drives. Considering how Matt had 21 security cameras, there should have been a lot of useful information about Nique's movements. However, when the devices were examined, the police didn't find anything useful. Investigators believe that Matt was involved in his wife's death, but there wasn't enough evidence to determine what happened to Nique. The case went cold. On February 13, 2012, a day before what would have been his 14th wedding anniversary, Matt and his daughters moved to Londonderry, Vermont. In July 2012, a cold case investigator revisited Nique's murder. During the initial investigation, audio recordings had been identified by the police, but they really didn't listen to them. This time, they paid more attention. They realized the recordings had captured arguments between Matt and Nique. In some of the recordings, there appeared to be a physical component. For example, Nique told Matt to get off of her and accused him of putting his hands around her throat. The electronics that had been seized from the Leili residence were examined again. On July 9, 2011, the day Nique disappeared, she could be seen just after midnight smoking a cigarette on the porch outside. After this, the security cameras continued functioning, but all the recordings up to 6:57 a.m. had been deleted. The cameras were manually deactivated at 7:18 a.m. through the use of a password. They were reactivated on July 11 at 4:41 a.m. The recordings from just after midnight to just before 7 a.m. on July 9 had been rendered irretrievable by using a program that was run on both July 11, the day Nique was reported missing, and on July 16, the day that Nique's body was found. It appeared as though someone was desperate to conceal what occurred during the early morning hours of July 9. On March 5, 2015, Matt Leili was arrested. He was later charged with murder and a few other offenses. His trial started on January 27, 2016. The state argued that Matt was lazy, manipulative, and demanding. He gave his wife GHB in order to obtain sex. He strangled her or sat on top of her to kill her. Matt's defense argued that Nique was the one who caused the trouble in the marriage and that Matt never deleted the video recordings. Rather, Nique shut off the system, just as Matt had claimed. On February 5, 2016, Matt was found guilty of malice murder, aggravated assault, and 3 counts of eavesdropping. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now moving to my analysis. Matt Leili maintains his innocence. He has had a few supporters who painted Nique as unstable and violent. The state of Georgia, of course, disagrees. They believe that Matt intentionally killed his wife after she denied him sex. This brings me to the question, was Matt Leili guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Nique died under mysterious circumstances, which almost certainly involved homicide. She and Matt were $300,000 in debt and had a long history of intense arguing. Witnesses said that Matt was physically and verbally harmful toward Nique. He was demanding, controlling, manipulative, aggressive, and petty. At various times he physically restrained Nique, locked her in a bathroom, made secret audio recordings of her, and tracked the location of her cell phone. In addition, he frequently reviewed the videos from his 21-camera surveillance system. Matt admitted that on July 8 and July 9, he argued with his wife because she rejected his request to have sex. Nique's system contained the drug GHB, and she and Matt had sex within a few days prior to her murder. Matt mentioned to his family that he would be blamed if his wife were found drugged and murdered. This reference about being drugged seems oddly specific. It took 2 days for Matt to report his wife missing. He supplied inconsistent timelines regarding the morning of July 9. Matt did not help in the search effort and argued about what photographs and content could be featured in the missing person flyer for his wife. In audio recordings, the couple can be heard arguing. It appeared as though Matt was being manipulative. He was trying to portray himself as the calm one, but he was clearly not respecting the boundary his wife was trying to set. For example, in a few recordings, Nique clearly did not want to talk about the relationship at that time, yet Matt kept pushing. He was deliberately aggravating her so that she would respond in an angry manner. The video recordings around the time that Nique disappeared were deleted from the security system, and software was used to ensure the permanence of this deletion. The software was run on the day Nique was reported missing, and again on the day her body was found. Only Matt could have done this. Matt implied that his wife disappeared due to a mental health crisis, but she had no history of mental illness. Moving to the exculpatory factors, Nique was described as impulsive, erratic, loud, demanding, and angry. In the audio recordings, she used an excessive quantity of expletives. Most of the audio recordings were made in 2008 and 2009, long before Nique died. During this time, the couple was seeing a mental health clinician who advised them to make the recordings. In 2010, the couple took a trip to Hawaii and renewed their marriage vows. Matt's daughters said that Nique was the one in the marriage who was violent. Matt was not violent. Right before Nique went missing, she allegedly removed her shirt in front of Matt's father, who was in the house at the time. Nique was not wearing a bra. She allegedly said, "Let's blank like a family." There was no sign of a struggle in the house, and Nicky's cause of death could not be determined. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Matt Leili was guilty of murder? Yes, I believe he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't think that Matt planned the murder, or he would have turned off the cameras in advance. This murder occurred in the heat of the moment, and Matt found himself trapped by his own security system. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. After getting divorced for a second time, Nique was ready to find a new lover. She was feeling increasingly desperate and lowered her standards significantly by selecting Matt. Nique was immature, impulsive, prone to anger, and had low frustration tolerance. Matt had these same characteristics, but he was also irresponsible, grandiose, manipulative, vindictive, self-centered, and had a sense of entitlement. Both Matt and Nique probably would not have been suitable romantic partners for just about anyone. Like being in any relationship would have been challenging for them. For Nique, having a lover was really about not being alone. She wanted companionship and protection. It was important for her to have another adult in the house. For Matt, having a lover was about obtaining sex. He rationalized the repeated rejections by Nique as indicating that Nique had a problem. In his mind, he wasn't being too demanding. Rather, Nique was being insensitive, cruel, and unkind. Matt used many tactics to convince Nique to have sex with him, like guilt trips, trying to convince her that she had a fear of intimacy, and acting as if she was projecting other bad experiences with men onto him. For example, he said that she complained that other men had used her for sex. Matt was extremely pushy and would just keep coercing Nique. This was evident in the audio recordings when he simply refused to leave her alone. Nique was growing tired of the constant pressure. She did not want to have sex as much as Matt did. On the night of the murder, Matt was really hoping to obtain sex. The couple was on a date night, and he thought things were going to go his way. When Nique refused his advance, Matt was not willing to accept her answer. He obtained his ultimate goal by drugging Nique with GHB. Nique was furious, therefore Matt murdered her using asphyxiation. Another possibility is that Matt accidentally caused Nicky's death. There is no way to know for certain what happened. Either way, Matt did not premeditate the crime. He quickly disposed of Nicky's body nearby and deleted the video recordings which were captured on his surveillance cameras. The initial investigation by the police was lazy and overlooked quite a bit of evidence, but eventually a proper investigation was conducted. This led to Matt's conviction. Now moving to my final thoughts. This murder case has focused attention on this trend of married couples recording each other during conversations or arguments. Sometimes this is done on the advice of a psychotherapist, as was the case here. Unfortunately, this tactic rarely leads to any type of improvement, largely because psychotherapists don't usually make any meaningful interpretation of the recordings. What is the point of making the recordings in the first place if they are never going to be used for anything constructive? Research has been conducted on the content of audio recordings between husband and wife couples. In the cases that involved the husband eventually becoming physically violent, one important pattern was identified, namely, the level of verbal aggression exhibited by the wife was as high as the verbal aggression exhibited by the husband. This doesn't mean that the wife's behavior caused the physical violence. Rather, the pattern is simply something that clinicians should be on the lookout for. It's a bad sign for the health of the relationship. There's this idea that when a husband is violent toward a wife, the wife is always submissive beforehand, but that is not always the case. Sometimes both people are verbally aggressive, and then physical aggression occurs later. With the case of Matt and Nique, there is this idea that Matt completely controlled everything that Nique did, and she never fought back. I do not believe that is what happened in this case. I think that Nique resisted Matt's attempts to control her the entire time. The difference in this case came down to physical capabilities. Matt could not get what he wanted using verbal tactics, so he resorted to a physical method. Those are my thoughts in the case of Matthew and Dominique Leili. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.